Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a quick video on correcting spine rolls. So the three books we have in front of us right now all pretty much have the same issue with them. You can see that they have a lot of the spine showing, and we'll take a look at each one of them, flip them over, and I'm going to show you the general process for addressing each one of these. So let's take a look at the top two. So the main characteristic is basically when you flip open the book. Like, you can get an idea of the difference between a bad wrap. So you'll see some books that have a little bit more white, more or less white on the back, on the side, that could be indicative of a bad wrap, versus spine roll, which you can easily tell by flipping over the book. So when you flip it over right there, you'll see this, and you'll basically see that the pages don't line up. So that's the telltale sign right there. And if we take a look at these other books, you're gonna see the same thing with them as well. So there's another example. And then last we have this book, which this is not so severe, but it's got the same telltale sign on the back where the edges don't line up. So what we're going to do is try to realign the book. And the first step is going to be to flatten it out. And the way I'm going to do that is using my tacking iron to flatten the book out. And then we're going to create a new fold. And we're going to do that by placing a cardstock and then tack ironing a new fold. Now, there's some things to consider when you do this. First of all, it's how much wear there is along the spine, how secure the staple are. So if you have a book with a lot of wear, and you can see this one's starting to develop a lot more wear, but if you get an older book, then this part of the spine can be very brittle. And if the spine is super brittle, you probably want to avoid this, because what you'll end up doing is likely detaching the cover. The other thing worth considering is that when you correct this spine roll, the staples will now be on the outside of the fold, which means that all of this wear that has accrued along this edge will now be on the back of the book. And if there's any tanning or discoloration that occurred here that is not on the back of the book, you'll basically have a strip of whatever tanning or discoloration that is. So we're gonna actually do these two books. I'm going to tack iron them flat, and then we're going to get them in the press to see how well we can do just quickly going through this. Now you'll notice, let me see, yep. So this one, I picked up all these books for $2 at the local comic store. This one, you can notice, has something a little more interesting going on with it. It's got this little star, and for those of you that collect militaria or Mark Jewelers, this is a star that was placed on books that were sold out of the bases. So this one will be a Mark Jeweler. So we have a Mark Jeweler insert on this guy. Another quick tip with dealing with Mark Jeweler books, now that I have one open here, is you'll see that there's this adhesive line here. So you're meant to tear this out, fold it over, and mail it off. When you press these books, you always want to insert a piece of silicone release paper along the side over here. So I don't have a full size sheet, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to put this, and then you're going to put a piece of SRP there. That way, when you humidify the book before you press it, you're not basically moistening this adhesive, which when you then press it and go to pull out is going to be stuck to your backer board. So that's a quick tip for dealing with Mark Jewelers. Always make sure you put some SRP paper when you press those books. So let's start with this guy. The first thing we're going to do is flatten it out. I'm going to get a piece of SRP paper, lay the book flat, and what we want to do is basically completely get rid of the spine on this book. So I'm going to first kind of press it out with my fingers, and if I was doing this on books that I was going to submit or kind of more valuable, I'd of course have gloves on in this case. So these books, I haven't even cleaned them yet. I just wanted to show you them as an example. The other thing I'm going to do, I have you don't necessarily need this step, but I find that it helps a little bit. Just like the Hot Shots methods, I'm going to take a little moistened cotton round, and I'm just going to dab it along the edge, so that if it is a little brittle, we're going to protect it from cracking or damaging more, and it'll be a little easier to flatten out. And then next, we're going to put another SRP on top, and then I'm going to have my tack iron, which is already preheated, and I'm going to start working on flattening out this book. And the one thing you want to do is take note of where the staples are. You don't really want to tack iron on top of the staples, because when you do that, then you're going to end up damaging the spine of the book. You could end up detaching the staple or causing additional wear. So I'm going to just move this down the book. just like we would if we were removing a dent, right? So I'm going to basically just be putting a lot of pressure, kind of dabbing it there, and sometimes I try to rub it, I just move it a little bit, but I wouldn't do that a lot because you could end up damaging the gloss on the book or damaging the coloration. So I'm just going to keep working on this. Yeah, and I can see the staple there, so I'm going to go around that staple. And while I'm at it, I see this little thing that's bending over there. I don't want that thing sticking up when I press it, so I'm just going to press that guy down too. Easy enough. To dampen that. You'll also notice that when you have books that have had spine roll for a long time and haven't been addressed or bagged and board, they'll get a lot more edge wear on the side of the book. So you can see that this is kind of taking a beating because it's basically just hanging out of the flat. All right, so you can already see just by that little bit of pressing with the tack iron work that I've been able to flatten it out. I'm going to give it a couple more passes. And again, I would always with all these new techniques recommend testing them out a bunch before you do it on a real book. So I went to the store, went through the $2 Silver Age bins and tried to pick out about 5 or 6 books with spine roll to be able to practice on. And before I actually tried it on a real book I was trying to fix before submitting the CGC. So I'd always go and get some practice ones, see how you do before moving on to a different book. All right, I think this should be generally good. We'll take a look at how it looks. So it's pretty nice and flat right there. You can see, I'll hold it like that. I'm actually gonna, let's flip this over and do a little more on this side. It's pretty crazy to be doing this on a Mark Jeweler book, I know. But believe it or not, you can find these guys in the $2 bin. And unless they're a book that's heavily sought after, I don't think they add too much value unless you're somebody that really just loves collecting Mark Jeweler's inserts. So maybe this could have been a $3 book as opposed to a $2 book. But I do have some Mark Jewelers in my collection and appreciate them. So I kind of went hunting for them because you can, here's another tip. You can see them, if they're bagged and boarded, you can see them poking out. So if they're a newsstand and you kind of look and you see the insert in there, you can scope them out without having to take every single book out of the package. And if you try that technique, and after the 10th book that you double check and you've got 9 out of 10, then you're pretty good at being able to spot them. All right. So now it's the tricky part. So we got it lying pretty flat. I won't stop it to take a picture, but you can see kind of what the goal was right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to make the new fold, and we do that by placing a backer board right where the staples are, basically where you want them to line up, and we're going to fold it in half and try to recreate a new bend. Do it this way. Okay, now you kind of want to hold that with your finger, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this a little bit of a tack right there. Now you kind of get only one shot on this, so if you mess it up, you can't really, I mean, you can imagine every time you're going to flatten out the book, it's going to cause stress on the spine. So this takes some trial and error and trying to tack it down like this. Okay. So I probably could have gone a little further. It's hard to get that staple right on the edge. Let me see if I can take this out. All right, so I'm going to take that out. I'm going to hold the book where I want it to lay. Put this on there. Okay, that one's ready for the press. Again, these are just quick videos. Might not be as technical as I would be trying to do if I was doing this on a book for submission, but let's take a look at how this one looks. In the back. So this one has spine roll plus stacking curl. It's got a nice curl from sitting there. And when we open this up, you can look at how that is right there. All right, so same thing. I'm gonna work by first trying to press this flat. This guy is really, really bent out of shape. All right, so you could see this one's got a little more of a roll there than the other one did. All right, I probably normally would take a little more time working on that, but that is probably flat enough for us to be able to try to introduce a new spine. So I think first thing I'm going to do, give it right there. just to hold it. And then I'm going to flip it over, take the backing board out, and let's see how the pages line up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the book to the point where all of those pages line up, hold it down, and hope that I can get it to take this new spine. So I'm going to hold that there and put this over. All right, not bad. So I'm going to get this guy in the press, try to get those new alignments to hold, and then we'll come back to see how they turned out. All right, this is my favorite part. I just pulled the two books out of the press. I still have them in here with their stacks the way they came out. And I like to do the first look over here to see how well we improved the book. So let's take a look at the first one. All right. So let me set this guy aside and take a look at that one. So we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about the actual press, but it was a really wrinkled book. And not only did we hopefully fix the spine, but we also improved the book overall. So let's see, I'm going to take out, let's see how well we lined it up. All right, so it probably could have been a little better. You can see it's a little uneven right here. I probably could have pushed it a little more that way. Well, hopefully I did a little better on the next one, but you got the general idea. I probably should have pinched it right there and done one more tack iron. Sometimes it's hard to get those staples to line up. I mean, you see that the staples are pretty much where you would expect them at the spine of the book. But overall, it lays a lot flatter. This is the one that had that really bad stack and curl too. So it was the spine roll plus the stack and curl. And we can take a look one more time again. Okay, marginal improvement. We can also see that the area which was in front, this one's not as dramatic, but you can kind of see that piece that was out there. So let's put this one aside. I'll get a little picture of that afterwards and see how we did on this one. This was our Mark Jewelers insert one. Look and see, I was in a hurry, so I didn't put the SRP paper there, and it stuck a little bit. That's exactly why you need the SRP paper there. But again, just my practice book. So let's see how we did. All right, I could have done better on that one too. Well, you know, everything's practice. These are, again, practice books. So I got it aligned on this side, but it is a crooked on this side. So I probably could have rolled it a little more and tack ironed it a bit. This one had pretty bad roll. And you could see where this is the part, I think right about here is where the line was. So that's where the spine used to be. And now, as I said, the wear that was on the front of the cover, you know, where it was rolled, is now on the back of the cover. And again, could have done a little better. Wish I had a little better of an outcome for you guys, but you get the general idea of the process. And we had significant improvements. It could have been better. this one is uneven. And I think that what the most important part is when you're trying to reform the spine, to make sure that everything's lined up before you go ahead and press it down. So that's probably where it should have been, and I should have made sure that both the sides were aligned. So we didn't get a perfect correction here. I think we did a little bit better than we did on this one. But either way, like I said, you get the idea, and practice, and they'll continue to turn out better. So I got one more. Maybe I'll give the last one a shot to kind of improve my skills as well. But there you go. That's the general process for the spine roll correction. See you next time.